You got your mama's sunshine, you got your daddy's rain. You're like a piece of heaven in a hurricane.
Hey everybody, welcome this week to the podcast Off the Mountain. I'm Josh. I'm here with Ron, Tom, and Vince, and we are here to talk about being thankful. But more specifically, we're going to talk about having a, before you turn it off, I know you guys are in the car, you guys are going to Thanksgiving dinner or whatever you guys are doing today or this week, and you guys have all these plans. We're going to talk about what it means to have a thankful mindset, which is different than just being thankful or saying thanks. You know, it's nice to teach your kids to say thank you and please and to be polite. And I know that some of you guys have the tradition where you'll go around at Thanksgiving dinner and everyone will say what they're thankful for. Those are good things. Those are great things. But it's not quite the same as having a daily thankful mindset. And I think that this is just my opinion, this is a hypothesis of mine. I think that if you want to lower your stress, you want to lower your anxiety levels, stop worrying about what you don't have, right? And start start focusing on and being thankful for what you do.
Count your blessings. And I want to talk about that in a few minutes. But, you know, in a perfect world, Josh, holidays should be a very cozy, warm, relaxing time. I was in Whole Foods, which is now ran by Amazon, I think, in Las Vegas. And, you know, I went in there and they're already playing traditional Christmas music. I'll be home for Christmas. Everybody was dressed up because it was a very cold day. And there was such a warm, fuzzy feeling in there. And I think that's the way the holidays should be in a perfect world. But somehow we've managed to mess this up pretty bad. And now so many people are fighting depression, anxiety, sadness. And so that's the environment in which we want to minister right now. I see people in the stores in another week or two, even starting this week, and they're so stressed out because they're having to buy a lot of presents. They don't have the money.
Yeah.
You got blended families causing all kinds of challenges. You got a lot of unforgiveness going around, and people are having to meet for dinners, and they don't know how to, orchestrate all of this. I mean, and you got the legalistic religious people on top of all this. You shouldn't be celebrating Christmas, Thanksgiving. I think they're okay with it. So
when was the last? Let me ask you this: when was the last time you got upset that somebody didn't spend enough money on you for Christmas?
Never,
Right?
absolutely,
Of course
never.
Not. Of course not. If you're an adult, if you're a kid, maybe it's different. But when you're an adult, I mean, look, we stress about so many things that are pointless to stress over.
But Josh, even go back to that. What would there be a difference between two people in the room, one giving you a really, really nice present, and the other one looking at you and going, I had a hard time this year. I don't have hardly any money, but I saw this and I knew this was you, and it's not much. It cost me $3. I did little changes to it, and I just knew I had to get this for you. I mean, the difference, it came from the heart. One comes from, not that the other one doesn't. The nice present probably comes from the heart too, but just meaning, or somebody saying, I didn't have money for the holidays, but I went out and made this for you. I mean, what a difference.
Well, my 6-year-old, who's now 6, just recently turned 6. She's so mature for a 6-year-old. And she told me the other night, just last night, actually, she said, Daddy, I really love Thanksgiving and Christmas. And she's all, but I don't love Christmas because of the presents.
Wow.
She's like, I love it because everyone gets together. That's
wow.
cool.
That's a 6-year-old.
She said that as a 6-year-old. And I'm like, man, this is good.
Do we need to go back and refocus on some rules for these holidays? I mean, I've watched it get out of control in my lifetime, where you might be spending an amount equal to, back in the day, $150 on Christmas, and then $500 and $1,000. I mean, right now we have time to set some standards. For example, in our family, and I'm not saying that everybody else should follow this, but we don't buy presents for the adults. We do a name draw, and we have like a $50 limit. But the children, of course, obviously we do. But there was a time when we needed to go back and focus on the meaning of the holiday, because became outrageous.
Got out of hand.
And the pressure was so great. And you see that in the stores. You look at some of these people, and bless their hearts, you can tell they probably don't have much money. and they're in there stressing out because they have to try to outspend somebody else. Man, we've just really messed this thing up. We've got to come back and get some rules, man, and get some sanity back into
Well,
this.
it's sad. I hate seeing, and I think, Vince, I think you've done this before, and I almost did it with you. I remember you guys used to have the tents out front, and you guys would camp out, but usually it was for something like a video game that was going to sell
right, in
out
front
or
of Best
something.
Buy or
You
something.
camped out on holiday? Oh, no.
No, not on the hall.
On,
Okay.
no, it was for like
Best
video
Buy
games.
or
Yeah.
Yeah.
But people do that for Black Friday, right? And there are amazing deals, and I think some of those people just like they love the chase. They
If
love
you
the
can make fun
excitement,
out of it.
and I think they do make a lot of fun and have a lot of fun. But man, I mean, is the TV that important? You know, I don't know. I think that it's important for us to like I said, do fun things together. And if it is a fun thing you do, great. But you know, it's nice now. The internet is just easy. I mean, it's just easy to get stuff on Amazon or whatever. You got all the deals on.
Go back to what you're
online
saying,
now.
though. These kids could grow up in Vince's family going, oh, man, we can't wait to go spend the night in the tent to get
Right.
the
Oh,
sales.
it
That
wasn't-
could become a traditional thing.
Vince never took his family out there. Vince was out there with his buddies.
I was up there with
They
the
were-
hustle.
Yeah, they're trying to get
So-
that video game that came out, you know,
Yeah.
or whatever.
Well,
it
I
was.
think your gratitude or your your mindset of being thankful has to do with your expectations, because I think a lot of people, their expectations exceed what they even need in life, right? And I think if your expectations, if they set in reality, then it's going to go right along with how how much of a heart of gratitude you have and how thankful you
I
are.
think there should be a law where people over 16 they don't get presents.
Oh yeah.
What do you think?
I don't know. I kind of still
don't-
like getting a present once in a while. I appreciate.
I don't
it,
think
but-
16. Make it 18, 19,
18,
20.
okay.
Yeah.
I was just
A little
kidding.
older.
I'm joking, by the way, for those of you
But
guys.
that has to do with the
that don't know
expectations,
me.
right? Like you said earlier, you talked about, we get upset if we don't get that present that we thought we should get. And it's like, well, what do we really deserve, right? What do we actually deserve in life? And I think
What
a
we
lot of
need,
that,
though, is
right.
we don't need present. We need presents.
Before we
need
get too
people.
spiritual,
All right.
I want to ask you a question. What was the most favorite Christmas present you ever have received? Going back to when you were 6, 7.
I know.
What was it?
So one Christmas, and like you said, my family we did not grow up with a lot of money, but I remember one Christmas I opened up a Nintendo NES, which is like in the end of like 1989, and a Sega Genesis on the same Christmas.
Wow.
And I was like,
Hit the jackpot.
I hit the jack. I was like, wow. So I was like that kid that you see on the screen, and I didn't know which one to play.
Yeah.
I was like, was going back and forth all day.
so
but
excited.
so excited, but
what
that
about you?
was-
What about you, Tom?
Well, it's funny because I can one up Vince on this one because I had an original Atari.
Oh, wow.
It was the Pong. Remember all the Pong?
Oh,
boop, boop,
man.
I love Pong.
And it was so crazy because we got it and we had to open it and play. We were so enthusiastic about it. But now you go to an Xbox or a PlayStation, and you're going, that was like stickman drawings,
Right.
But it was so exciting to go boop boop. Remember that?
Oh, I
that
remember-
noise?
remember it well.
And you would move up your little
Right.
paddle and
Try to put a spin on the ball if you could.
yeah, but I'm just saying, I remember that.
That's awesome.
And as you look back, with that mindset, it was the excitement of there, but it didn't last.
Well, what about yours, Josh, before we get into a spiritual overtone here?
I mean, obviously, the video game system when we were kids, that was everything because the
Yeah.
Nintendo system was new, and we got it. I got it a little later, but at the end of the day, it was so cool to open it up. And then the best memory I have is you and I played all night.
All night long.
All
we
night
did.
long.
That's
We
wild.
did.
And that was the last time I think you ever played a
The
video
last
game.
time I've ever played a video game in my life.
Ever, but that was in the 80s. And he stayed up all night and played. But I also remember a gift that sticks in my mind, and it was wrapped just like a gun, and it was a gun. It was a shotgun. I got a shotgun.
How old were you?
A 410 shotgun. I don't know.
Probably 12 years old. You got a
I
410
don't
shotgun
know.
on
It was-
Christmas.
I was young. It was like my first real gun, and I was excited about that.
Folks, welcome to Bakersfield.
You were thinking about things to blow up.
I was ready
right?
to go hunting. Ready to go.
Mine was a 10-speed bike.
Okay.
All my friends had bikes. I didn't have one. And I got a 10-speed
That's
bike.
awesome.
I was about 12 years old. And I mean, even sometimes now on Christmas Day, if you're traveling, you'll see kids out on the road riding their new bikes.
Yeah.
And
Well,
of
it
course,
is magical for kids, man. I mean,
Magical
this
time.
of the year. It
we
really
don't want to deprive them of that.
And there are a lot of kids too. By the way, the church every year does the angel tree. And if you guys are local in Bakersfield and go to VBF, we do our angel tree thing every year where you can go and pick an angel off the tree.
Well, again, before we
bring a
get
gift.
too spiritual, and I'm glad you remind them of that. Is this is one of the three major holidays right here in a row, and again, I love Thanksgiving, probably the best of the three. Because Thanksgiving, again, what? Fun, food, and what?
Football.
I was gonna say
You got the
family.
three.
I was gonna say
And-
family, but no,
And
I said family.
pumpkin pie,
Something more gas related. I don't know.
pumpkin pie, turkey, all that. But then after Thanksgiving, we follow up with Christmas. After Christmas, New Year's Day.
Yep.
And so going back to Thanksgiving, because this is the one right upon us right now. The word comes by combining two nouns, thanks, and the present participle of the verb give. Now, unfortunately, we very often put too much emphasis on the giving and not the thanks. But you have to put the two together. So Thanksgiving, we go back to, Plymouth, we go back to the Mayflower and how that these pilgrims and the Native Americans got together on the first Thanksgiving, and they went out and killed some birds, and they killed some deer, and they brought it together, and they were thankful because they just had a really horrible winter. And there was a lot of thankfulness in that first holiday. But somehow we've started losing a little bit of that. We're just losing focus as a culture at large. And I think we got to bring it back. So again, if you were the dictator and you were able to change some rules or put out there some rules for the holidays, are there any rules that you would implement on Thanksgiving, Christmas, or New Year's?
Well, one of the rules that we have with my wife's side of the family when we do Thanksgiving, and I think a lot of people have adopted this, is we have to go around the table and actually say something we're thankful for before we actually eat. Which
That's cool.
It's sometimes it's like, oh man, I don't want to do this. You're sitting there, I'm like, I'm just hungry, but it's good. It's good for everybody to go around and actually share like something you're actually thankful for the year.
I like that. I like that. We do that too sometimes. We haven't been real consistent with it.
Well, when the girls were little, I mean, and I think the state of mind for having gratitude is something you want to bring in every day. I mean, when the girls were young, we'd always come around the dinner table because we liked to eat dinner around the table when they were young, and they had to talk about something they were grateful for that day and something that really wasn't really spectacular in their day. And we had to go. You had to measure both. But I think having the right mindset is what really gets you to that place. Because really, gratitude is in the mindset, isn't it? I mean,
Definitely.
I mean, as we're walking through every day, some people call it a mood.
I think what I would do is I would enforce a Sabbath during this time, because I love the Jewish tradition of Sabbath where they shut everything down
Yes.
for a full 24 hours and they hang out with their family. And I think that if we did that, even housework, chores, responsibilities, balancing the checkbook, all those things, they can wait for a day. I think that was a way that God set up for his kids to basically de-stress, to let the
And Josh, back in my day, on Sundays, all stores were closed. Everything closed down. There was a reverence. Right now, are there stores actually staying open on Christmas?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There are?
There's been a
Absolutely.
trend for Thanksgiving at
It's
least.
terrible.
There's been a trend where a lot of stores are closing on Thanksgiving,
They
but
should all close.
yeah.
Well, they close now on Thanksgiving to get ready they open up at 4:00 on
Right.
Thanksgiving for Black Friday.
Right.
Right. But I mean, you still have Starbucks open. Like you said, and I like what you said, Josh, that's so huge because sometimes just having that day to reflect and be with family versus people are going to work. I mean, everybody can live without Starbucks. And I'm not coming
Sure
against
they
Starbucks, but for those people that are working, it's like if you can have that day of rest and just with your family, that's huge. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that.
Well, I didn't know because I don't keep up with this a lot because I don't shop a lot. But I know, again, back in my day, we weren't even allowed to mow the lawn on Sunday, which was great for me. I loved it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, everything was closed down. No shops were open. No stores were open. And again, I wished our country could bring back some of that reverence. And Starbucks, like you say, we can live without that. So maybe we need to start, I don't know, I guess you can't do it, put some pressure on some of these places. Say, come on, close down for Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Let me say
please.
this. Think of your last holiday season. What is one memory that you have? And I'm talking to the people that are listening. What is a memory that you have that is a good memory of the last season?
Josh, I don't know I think you remember this. I don't remember how old you were. We lived up in Springville on the farm. We call it the farm. And so of all days, your mother got sick on Thanksgiving. She's in bed with a fever. So Tara and I don't know where you were at. Do you remember this?
I do.
We had one of our foster sons with us or two.
I was staying out of the way.
We decided to cook. Our what was it? We're doing dumplings or something. We made a total mess out of everything.
The turkey pretty much caught fire.
We caught fire on the turkey.
Wow.
It burned.
And then there was smoke in the house.
And what did
then
I do?
You open up all the doors,
And what did I do beyond
and
that?
all the flies came in.
First I opened up the doors, wide open the doors.
Mm-hmm.
I went and got the weed blower out of the garage
Mm-hmm.
to blow the smoke out. So I'm blowing it out of the kitchen. We were all choking. And then when I blew the smoke out in that event, the flies came in. So then I changed it to sucking up stuff, and I was trying to suck the flies out. Anyway,
I think
long
they
story
made a
short,
movie about this.
They did, right?
our dressing was like soup. But you know what? After all was said and done, Tara and I were talking the other day. That was one of our favorite holiday memories. It was so much fun. Was that the same day you got stung by a wasp, or was that different?
It might have been. I don't know. I'm
We
not
were
sure.
out swatting wasps with tennis rackets.
Yeah, it was a bad idea.
Anyway, that was my favorite
Yeah, so
holiday.
what I'm saying is one of the things about creating memories with your family is there's a direct connection with that and being mindful. And what I mean is focusing on being here right now.
Right.
Versus, you're hanging out with your family, but you're thinking about 10 things you got to do, or you're thinking about, work, or you're thinking about, this relative that didn't say hi to you when they came in the door or whatever. If you can get out of that headspace and get into a here, now mindset, that will help you realize what you do have. And I think that'll help you realize how to have a thankful mindset.
Was
as
it
well.
2 podcasts ago when we talked about planning ahead?
Right.
In other words, looking at Thanksgiving a couple days ahead and going, here are some obstacles that could get in the way of making this a perfect day. And I'm going to get prayed up. I'm going to get ready. And like Vince said, maybe even whoever's leading the household, or is not leading the household, but the person that's most influential, or the person making the dinner, however you want to phrase it, that person might say, hey, let's go back on that traditional thing of sharing something around the table that we're thankful for. So I didn't hear you guys say what your favorite holiday was, or what your favorite memory of the holiday.
Well, yeah. I mean, last year my favorite memory was actually New Year's Day when you guys all came up, Vince and all the kids came up and played in the snow
That
at
was
your
fun.
house. Actually,
And where
Yeah.
we were gone.
I don't know where you guys were. Yeah, I don't know where you guys were.
Thank you.
You just took over.
We did.
Yeah, thank
we,
you.
we stayed at your house. I think you guys were in Las Vegas,
We might have been in Las Vegas.
but all the kids came up and played in the snow.
That's neat.
and it was a lot of fun.
That's
That
neat.
was.
And I remember just thinking about just how good it is to be aware of what you have for the moment, because these kids, they grow so fast, man. My kids are growing fast. Vince's kids have grown fast. I mean, he's got one in high school. You guys were talking about the difference. You know, Dad, you have a granddaughter who just got engaged to be married. Tom, you got a couple of kids, a couple of girls that one's married, and it's wild how fast things happen.
So
Tom and I,
fast.
we always have a connection on the daughter thing
We're
because
daughter dads.
Yeah, I have two
Daughter
little
dads,
girls,
that's a good term.
and he has two little girls, and
Well, like Josh, last year, I remember this, and I think, sometimes you have to put things in perspective. And my daughter lives in Nashville, and my daughter lives in Irvine, so we don't see them a lot, but we FaceTime all the time. But it was so exciting. I remember we were actually looking at our phones and tracking them home, and we went out in the driveway to meet them, and they both kind of pulled in at the same time. And so there was just like, wow, we're together.
Right.
And it was an appreciation for that. And we hadn't even done anything that cooked a meal yet, and so it was just having that fact that hey, we are together again. I mean, my daughters are coming in for this holiday coming up, and of course Tessa's married now, so she's bringing Danny. And this is something I think, like Pastor said, you have to prepare, because in our family now he is Hispanic and he has a large gathering on Thanksgiving. So they called us and said, hey, we're going to have to split up our Thanksgiving. And we're like, okay, and we're going to get to see you though, right? And we're like, yeah. So we said, hey, you guys go to Danny's on Thanksgiving Day, and we'll all be together. And then on Friday, we'll all celebrate together. So it was an expectation that we had to say, okay, we're going to set off ours. We're still going to celebrate, but we're going to have family time. And they were giving, but we had to give too.
Yeah.
So it was that gratitude that, hey, we're going to get to see them, maybe not on the day.
It's okay to have kind of, your own schedule that you're
Yes.
comfortable with and that everyone's comfortable with.
I want to remind people to take a lot of pictures
Yes.
because memories are worth everything.
Yes.
Now, back in the day, we'd have to say, do you have film for the camera? Film for the camera? We all have our cell phones now.
But not Instagram photos. Photos just to take,
Yeah.
Right.
The ones that are real, those memory photos.
Before we change directions, and I feel maybe we should, I was reading the other day about some research that had been done on gratitude. Dr. Robert Emmons of the University of California and Dr. Michael McCullough from the University of Miami, they broke the participants of this research into 3 groups. And they told the first group, or they told all of them, they said, what we're going to have you to do, we're going to have you to write a sentence each week on a different topic. And so the first group, they said, what we want you to do, every week you write a sentence on things you're grateful for. The second group, they said, every week write a sentence on the things that irritate you in that day. The third group, they said, every day we want you to write a sentence on the events that has affected you in a given day, whether good or bad. And after 10 weeks, they looked at the participants. They said the people that wrote down something they were grateful for every day, they had less visits to the doctors. They were more optimistic. Wow. They were more happy just in 10 weeks. Yeah. So we're kind of switching now to not just the holiday season, but trying to live with a spirit of gratitude.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's biblical. Yeah. So let's kind of make that switch right there. And
okay, I got it. I have a good scripture that I didn't see it correlating with thankfulness until I looked at it again. Ecclesiastes 1 and 2, the writer basically goes into kind of a tirade of how he has done so many things and he has so many things and he's observed so many things in life, but yet he is miserable.
Right.
And I think about that, and I think about this idea or this mindset that he had of wanting more. More doesn't really exist, right? It's like if you actually get more, then more still is out of reach, right? It's something that you never actually get. It's not a real thing. It's the finish line continues to move and move and move. There's never enough.
Yeah.
And so his mindset is on that. And the result of that is it says in the scripture that he hated his life. Yeah. He hated his life. Yeah. And this is a rich person. This is somebody who had, we believe it's Solomon, but it's somebody who had everything that you could imagine and all the wisdom and all the accolades and the respect and the love that you can get. And he was miserable. They say that once you make a certain amount of money, that beyond that, it doesn't affect your happiness anymore. In fact, it kind of goes
opposite direction.
The opposite direction. Yeah. But I was thinking about this thought, and when I don't know how I even correlated this Ecclesiastes chapter with this idea, but the idea was, how do we get into the mindset of understanding where all the good things in life actually do come from? Because you can't be thankful unless you know who gives you the goods.
Yes.
Unless you know who to thank. Like my kids are writing letters to Santa, right? They're thanking Santa for last year's gifts.
Well, you know what, Josh? In James 1:17 is what you're talking about. Every good and perfect gift comes down from above, from the Father of lights.
And that's just it. And that's what I'm saying. Like, how often do we think that?
I mean, honestly, is that verse saying that you can't have a perfect gift, without it coming down from the Father? For example, your mother and I, we had not taken this drive for many years. And the other day, it was on a Sunday, I think, we decided to drive out through Hart Park. And it was jammed with people. But as we drove through the park, I told your mother, I said, you know what? I said, look at the faces of these people. They are flat happy. They're flat having a good time. Now, I would think that it's quite possible that they were having as much fun or more fun than people with big multi-million-dollar homes in their backyard. And so it proves the point that you were saying, that happiness comes with contentment. But let's go back to that verse. I want to ask you that question. If every perfect gift comes down from the Father of lights, from our Heavenly Father, I mean, could we take that verse so far down the road as to say that when God is instrumental in putting your marriage together and gives you that spouse, can that be more perfect than when you go out and choose them yourself? I mean, there's a lot of depths to some of these verses.
Right.
Well, I can answer. I'm the only one sitting at the table that can answer that, because I've been in a 11-year marriage that there was no love, and that was chosen by myself. And I've been in a marriage that I know God brought Tiffany into my life, and we're in love to this day. So I mean, I can sit here and say I'm a perfect analogy of that.
So that's another thought that I had, right? Is everything comes from God, but yet sometimes God moves through somebody else. So sometimes there's two people to thank. You thank God for the big gifts, right? But then you thank your wife for being a vessel of God and loving you through him, right? It's like they're co-conspirators, you know? And we can't forget to be thankful to the people in our lives too.
Well, you know, and I was going on because, I mean, I screwed up my first marriage. It's my fault. And I've said that many a times. I mean, it's my infidelity that did that. But I'm just saying, the love wasn't there, and I think love's not an emotion, it's a commitment of the will, but you don't learn that until God inhabits your heart. So I think as you frame that, I think you have to look at it on the components. Once God's in charge, your decisions are a little better than they were before.
Exactly.
You know, and I think that's important for the audience to know, because you can think you were happy, right?
Right.
We can all think, hey, I mean, you know, when people look at my whole life, they're thinking, oh, you had money, you had cars, you had girls, you had this, you had that. You're not happy. So what is gratitude then?
Right.
Gratitude for the stuff, but you're not grateful for the way I'm living or or what I'm doing. Because I mean, I had to wake up with that guy every morning, and I think that's something that is you think about it. And I like the mindset of gratitude, because you do have to wake up. And I think if everybody focuses on an everyday practice of the Bible says rejoice always. Again, I say rejoice, right? It's like it doesn't say if it's a good day or a bad day or a rainy day or a sunny day. It says rejoice because it's a day God made.
I think there's two different types of people that when they receive gifts, there's people that think that they're deserving of the gift. And then there's the undeserved people that know that they did not deserve it. Like that second marriage, you probably felt like you were so undeserving of that. You did not.
I got a repeat.
Right.
I got blessed in the repeat, but it's, I think, because of my decision to trust God. It's like pastors.
But if you come into this life and you think, well, I deserve all this stuff, and then you start storing it up, you think you're like, this is all mine, it belongs to me, and you always talk about God gives us these things, but they're really God's. He's letting us borrowing them.
I've got a perfect story to illustrate what you're saying. Jesus is on his way to Jerusalem, and these 10 lepers come out, and they want to be healed. And so they ask him for mercy and grace. And so anyway, he extends a healing to them, and he says, go show yourself to the priest, which I mean, I could stop and just get, taken away with some of these side points, but let me make the point I want to make. For example, the side point is, they actually had the faith to take off to go show themselves to the priest at a point when they weren't healed. Now let's get this scenario in proper picture. Let's get a proper picture of it. Leprosy. You sometimes would lose fingers, lose hands, lose limbs. An arm could just fall off. Someone said they were in a leper colony one day, and they said the stench was so bad they had to come out. They couldn't even stay in there. So these lepers come, and they say, man, have mercy on us. And he says, okay, go show yourself to the priest. I'm going to heal you. And they take off. And one of them, who happened to be a Samaritan, and I think this is important to the story, he comes back, the only one that came back, and he falls at the feet of Jesus and says, thank you, man. I appreciate what you did for me. And Jesus says, wasn't there 9 more? Where are they at? And he says something very interesting to this Samaritan guy. He said, your faith has made you whole. Your faith has saved you, made you whole, made you well. And I've often thought, what was he saying there? This Samaritan, first of all, he was a Samaritan. He didn't think he deserved this blessing that this Jewish rabbi gave him, which, just stands to reason.
Right.
But he comes back, and what he was saying to Jesus was, thank you for the grace, the unmerited favor. I know I don't deserve this.
Right.
And I'm coming back, and Jesus says, by that very fact that you realize that you didn't deserve what you got, he said, you're going to be well the rest of your life. The other 9, they might have received a healing.
What's the opposite of that attitude? I would say it's entitlement.
Entitlement is a great opposite.
And how many, young people these days are
But Josh,
entitled?
go back to that story. Go back to that story. He says this grace that you're revealing that you have knowledge of. He said this is going to go beyond your physical healing. That grace is going to make you whole, sozo, well. Now,
Not
think
just
about it.
better, but whole.
If you don't really believe in grace, undeserved favor. Now, the Samaritan knew double he didn't deserve it.
Wow.
He was a Samaritan. He was a half-breed. He didn't deserve it because he was a Samaritan. He didn't deserve being healed. I mean, this rabbi owed nothing to me. Now, without grace, without really latching on to grace, and without really believing in grace, you won't have peace.
Well, yeah.
You won't be able to go to prayer and ask boldly for requests because you'll always feel guilty. So I think he made a statement here. Because you firmly believe in undeserved favor, not only will you experience this physical healing that you just received, but now you're going to be made whole in every area of life.
What you're saying is huge too, because that's like I'm like processing this right now as you're saying this, but a lot of people think that their next raise or the next car or that next job is what's going to make them whole. They think that's the thing that's going to give them that peace or whatever, and it's not. It's what you're saying. It's actually having that, going back to the feet of Jesus and
it's
say,
not,
I'm so undeserving of this.
Right.
And I'm thankful for that. Because if you get something, you think that next job's going to give you this wholeness, it's not.
No.
If you think that next, whatever, it's not.
I think the thing is people get in the mindset. It's not necessarily greed. Like I have to have that to be better than that person or whatever.
Sure.
I think it's like, if I only had that, then life would be easier. If I only had that, then things would flow the way they need to flow. Well,
It's all an illusion. It's all an illusion.
Well, I
It
remember
is.
when I was younger, I always thought to myself, and you guys you can pop in and let me know if you feel like this. I always said to myself, if I can make $500 more, I'm going to be doing good. Like all my bills will be paid. I won't have to worry about anything. Then at some point I make the $500 extra. I'm like, if I can only make $500 extra more, and it just keeps going on, right? Like you're
So
always
I'm saying more is an
right.
illusion.
But I'm just saying you always think like if I can get to the next place, but somehow we've lost the place where it's like, I'm good where I'm at. And then instead of being, like you said, being present with your family and, we overextend ourselves and we always try to get
one
more.
of my favorite Christmas movies is Christmas with the Cranks.
Okay.
Have you guys seen that one?
Yeah.
That's a good one. They it's with Tim Allen and who's the lady? It's Sigourney Weaver.
No, it's
I can't remember.
it's going to cut Halloween girl,
alien.
the Halloween girl.
Oh my gosh, is it Sigourney?
Like,
That is not.
No, it's
Oh, maybe that is. Yeah, maybe you're right.
no, it's not.
I don't know.
No. It's
Irrelevant. Go on to the
yes,
story.
yes.
We're off track, guys. We're off track.
Everybody's
Somebody's yelling
at
at
no
the
one
radio.
cares right now.
They're going
Anyway,
crazy.
the movie is about, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but it's about this couple, and they're older, and their daughter's away, and they decide they're going to skip Christmas, and they're not going to buy any gifts, they're not going to put any decorations up, they're not going to do any of the Christmas things because they're going to go on a cruise, and so they're just kind of like avoiding everyone that has to do with Christmas cheer, or trying to get them to do something, or put up their their traditional Christmas decorations and all that stuff. And what's funny is in the movie, the daughter ends up, and this is a spoiler alert, so in case you haven't seen it, it's an old movie, but the daughter ends up coming home unexpectedly and bringing a new boyfriend, right? And they have to cancel their cruise plans, and they have to scrounge up whatever they can to make Christmas happen. And in that movie, it's so cool because the community all comes together to help them in their situation to bring, to make Christmas happen. And the reason I like that movie is because they didn't have to stress all month about making plans and doing all these things.
Right.
It all worked out. I mean, how many times have you had a family gathering and it didn't work out because you didn't prepare enough or you didn't have enough, you know? I mean, usually that's not the case. Usually it doesn't work out because people fight, because they're stressed, because of the events that have led up to that day. And so, you know, maybe we declare a moment in time between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and maybe Thanksgiving and New Year's, and say, hey, during this holiday season, we're going to choose as a family to not be stressed, to not be led by stress, to not be led by anxiety, to not be led by keeping up with other people.
And we still have time to do that,
enjoy
Josh.
each other.
We still have time to do that. Again, I think one of the smarter things that we did as a family, and we said, hey, we're not going to live with this pressure of buying everybody presents. All the adults get together. Let's draw a name. There's a $50 or $100 limit. That's all you can spend. It's a stocking. Just get some funny gag gifts, whatever. But going back to this leper, he came back to show gratitude. There was something there. I read a story the other day, and I was trying to bring it to my memory, but it was something about an older lady that was on a street corner begging, and people were giving her money. And some lady who had given her money several occasions saw her one day, months later, on the street corner again, and she went to give her a donation. She says, no, I don't want a donation. She said, I got a job, but I have something for you. And she had a wrapped up donut. She handed her and said, thank you for your kindness. And that is really cool. That story just kind of stood out in my mind of coming back and saying, you know what? I don't want anything now, but I do want a donut's not much, but I want to acknowledge that I appreciate what you've been doing for me.
Definitely. Well, I like that idea of just having a
grateful heart.
A grateful. I think getting the stress out of the way makes it a lot easier to be thankful. I think that's my big point, and it's something I'm working on.
Well, let's get specific here. What are some things specifically that we should be thankful for? I just got back a couple weeks ago from Vegas, our 50-year anniversary. And those people were so excited. We had a packed house. We had to have 1,000 people. And, you know, I started thinking about that. God, the perfect gifts come from above. He gave us that church in Vegas. One day he looked down and he said, you know what? I need a church in Vegas. And I need one that I've birthed with these personality traits because I have a lot of people there that they can't find a church like the one I'm going to establish in Vegas. He gave that church to them as a gift to keep them spiritually strong so someday they can get spiritual rewards. And so I want to start out. If we can stay on this for a second.
Yeah.
I want to give thanks today for VBF Church in Bakersfield, the one in Vegas, the one in Thousand Oaks that Pastor Jim's doing. God gave those churches to us because he cared that much about us. So I will start there. Now, you guys tell me, let's list 8 or 9 things, maybe, things that we could specifically be thankful for. And maybe not the obvious things that everybody thinks we're going to mention.
I'm going to add the online audience to your thankfulness because I consider that a church. We have a huge, for you guys that are listening to the Off the Mountain podcast, we actually have a huge amount of people that listen online, and we're so thankful that they continue to do that. I'm super thankful. I know this sounds cliche. My wife, I know, like you said, Tom, she's a gift from God. In my ups and downs in ministry, in wanting to do things sometimes my own way, my wife has just been a godsend to be able to keep me not only focused on God, but focused on what's important. And I'm so thankful for that. And I think we should be thankful. I think sometimes we overlook that. You know, we can say, well, maybe your spouse is the nagging spouse or whatever, but God has probably put that person in your life. And if you can, instead of having an attitude of being not happy or discontent or whatever, changing your mindset to having a mindset of gratitude or being thankful, I think it'll also change your relationship with your wife or your spouse or that person you're with. I think.
Please don't answer this, but when was the last time we told our spouse, thank you for marrying me?
Oh,
You are a gift to me. I mean, again, we don't have to answer it, but if we'd get in the habit of that, of being thankful, or even look at our kids saying, thank you. I heard your mother tell one of the grandkids the other day, thank you for being born. And she told, I forget which grandkid it was, but thank you for being born. And so
We looked at her and said, "You're welcome."
this life of gratitude, let's something else. Well, what? And I know the obvious, and you have a very sweet wife. You were blessed for sure. In fact, all four of us were really, really
Yes.
blessed in that area. And I know we're thankful for being our salvation and all of that. But let me throw another one at you while you're thinking.
Well, I can answer it if you don't
okay.
want to leave that too
Okay.
quickly. I'm thankful for people that are put in my life to help me, even when
that's good.
there may be not criticism, but it's some encouraging advice. I had Tessa last week call me because there was another project I was working on, and she said, "Dad, I think this was wrong." And I sat there and I go, "Okay." She goes, "Well, I don't want you to make you feel bad." I go, "Honey, you didn't make me feel bad. You pointed it out because you're an expert in this area. And I'm glad you pointed that out to me because that's not a strong point for me." So it's almost like, the Bible says that a rebuke is good,
Yes,
but it's
yes.
come from a loved one that cares about
Iron
you.
sharpens iron.
And so you have to be thankful for those. And if they're close enough to you and they're telling you because they love
Yes.
you, you can't receive it as a negative. It's a positive. And my daughter kept saying, "Dad, I'm sorry to hurt your feelings." I go, "No, honey, you didn't. That needed to be said.
Yes.
I need to receive it, and we'll move on." And it actually trickled down a little farther to some other people, and they're like, "No, we needed to hear that too." So I'm just saying, if you're out there, I mean, I don't think people should criticize people for a reason of criticism, but if you're saying the word at the appropriate time, at the appropriate season,
It's a gift.
We got to be grateful for that because it's going to help us. Some of us don't look at a trial that moves us to the right path as being something that we're grateful for. Maybe not in the moment, but when you get on the right path, what do they say, Pastor? Hindsight's 20/20?
2020.
Right when you're getting it, though, it doesn't seem like a great
But
thing.
Tom, when someone loves you,
Yes.
can't they say pretty much anything to you if you know it's coming out of a heart of love? I think they can.
And you can receive it that way, too, right?
You can receive it. I'm thankful for the person that led me to the Lord. And I just did his funeral. And I'm so thankful that man saw a need to pray for my salvation. Anything else you can think of that maybe isn't as obvious as we're thinking right now?
I mean, it's hard not to be obvious and say, my wife
Right.
and my family, my oikos is what I would call it. Oikos, not the yogurt, but it's actually a Greek word that means family. And if I were to draw a circle and the circle's as wide as my arms can reach, there's a certain amount of people in that oikos, in that family circle that whenever I reach out, they're there. And I'm thankful for those people. You guys know who you are. But I'm also thankful for the things that God holds back from happening to me.
Oh, that's a good one.
I've always thought of the Israelites when they are being led through when they're being led out of Egypt, they come immediately to a dead end, to the Dead Sea or to the Red Sea. And what does God do? He has to perform a miracle. He opens up the sea and he allows them to go through. And I always have thought about my life, and I've thought about what is he holding back? What are the waters of destruction that he's holding back from me right now? And even though I've had a struggle with faith the last few months, the last year, every time I sit down and pray and read my Bible and get connected with God, I think about the fact that he has held back the waters from destroying me.
Josh,
and they're waters that should have destroyed me.
It's a constant prayer of mine over the years. I might pray it once every week or so, and I'll say, "God, thank you for the things that you've done for me that I don't know about," because I bet there's a lot of them, and that would include protection.
Yeah.
So anyway, I want to challenge our audience. It's 2 days before Thanksgiving. It's coming up. For the next 3 or 4 days, it's a challenge. Every day for the next 3 or 4 days, write out a text to someone in your life and thank them for being your friend. Thank them for being a spouse, for being a child, whatever. I mean, let's just try that. Because like you said, we don't want this broadcast to motivate you to be thankful at Thanksgiving only.
Right.
It needs to become an attitude, a daily routine.
Ritual almost.
Yeah, 1 Thessalonians 5:18. In everything give thanks, for this is the will of Christ Jesus in you. Everything give thanks. So it needs to be an attitude. It's a good time to practice right now.
I got a thing that my wife and I did for years, and the other day it blessed us, and we haven't. So we did it for years as the kids were growing up, but we haven't carried it out. And the other day I was looking, and on our mantle we have a decorative glass vase, and there was rocks in it, and we'd always write when God did something on those rocks. So I said the other day, I told Tiff, I go, we need something right now. Let me just reach in and grab one. And I reached in, and I was very thankful for those monuments that you can
That's cool.
build. Where I pulled it out and I read it, and my wife goes, "Why don't we keep doing that?"
Yes.
That's a good idea.
Yes.
Yeah, but we did. But we would always do it, but we stopped. But I think that was something we said we need to start doing it again, because it let us remember something that was effective in our life, that was pretty cool, and so it was a kind of a decorative way of writing it down, but it was useful in our house.
And I love that because there's action involved in the
Yes.
thankfulness.
Yes.
And Mike Maggard spoke at the men's retreat, and most of you guys weren't there, so you'll appreciate this. He said that one thing he did for years, I think it was his boys. It was every year.
He wrote to
for
them.
their birthdays. He would write them a letter and give it to them. And I want to start doing that actually on Christmas for my family. And so I think that's like thankfulness in action. That's a way of saying to God, thank you for my family. Thank you for these
Yes.
people.
That is so cool.
And thank you guys, for being in my family and being, part of that. And
Well, why does Hallmark make
thing.
so much money? People don't want to be creative themselves. I mean, I was just thinking of something as you two guys were talking.
I'm trying to figure it out. I'm still trying to think. I can't think of anything.
What's that?
Why does
there's-
Hallmark make so much
Well,
money?
because people could write their own cards. They could write their own cards.
I was thinking of the Hallmark Channel.
People want Hallmark cards.
Got it.
People
Before
want
they
to
were
pay for someone else to do the thinking for them.
Got it.
As you guys were talking, I was just thinking, would it be cool if we could start writing out some handwritten cards?
Yeah.
Don't let Hallmark do your thinking for you. And write them out and hand them out on special occasions. I used to write our grandkids letters regularly, and Tara said, "Dad, that was so exciting. They were getting your letters, and I stopped doing it." So maybe
it's
right now
funny.
it's a reminder.
Most of the cards you open, you don't even read the words in the card.
don't.
That the manufacturer
You
wrote.
don't.
You read the cards, the words that were written by hand,
Yes.
Because that means a lot. It
I
means a
think
lot
we
more.
were all talking a while back on the things that our children did for us when they were young, because they quit doing it. I was going through my files the other day, and I have a file for both girls that I had stuck everything that they had ever given me. And they used to stick notes up. And I was sitting on the ground. Tiffany goes, "I thought you were doing this." And I go, "I was, until I ran across these." And I was going through every one of them. It was a moment that, like you said, those are Sabbath moments. Go back and what do you say, Pastor? Retrospect, right?
Yes.
When I was in Washington for a month, I had a little bag, and it was stuff that my 5-year-old daughter at the time, she put all the stuff in it, and pictures and different things, and I still have that bag. I'm never gonna let go of that.
No, don't ever let go of stuff like that. It's so important.
It's huge.
But like we're saying, these are ideas that have impacted our lives, and it's things that other people can do, and you don't have to, like you said, Pastor, spend a great deal of money on it.
Well, that Last Frontier, I forgot what it was called, but I know they had a Christmas thing on every year, and back there they didn't have stores, Walmart, Target, whatever to go to for Christmas, and they all made each other Christmas presents. They would spend a month or two out in the woods gathering stuff and making things for someone. I'm sure it's just for the show. Right after that, they probably went to Walmart or
Who knows?
Target, whatever. But it was a really cool idea anyway. So I don't know how long we want to go on this broadcast today. People are traveling.
I want to
and-
say one more thing about being thankful. A lot of people don't know what to be thankful for because they don't remember what they've prayed for. And I have preached this, and I haven't practiced as well as I've preached it, but it's important to write down what you want to ask God, because if you don't, you might forget. And if you forget, you're not going to know when He answers.
What have I taught for years? You guys know that. I have taught pray specifically. So when He answers the prayer, you'll know it was Him.
Yeah, exactly. And pray fervently, which is
Yes.
like, believing
Yes.
in your prayers. And so I just encourage you guys to, if you think, I don't have anything to be thankful for, God never answers my prayers. Well, what was the last thing specifically that you prayed? Do you remember?
I think that comes along with desires too, though, because like you could sometimes, maybe people are writing down their prayers and like, God's never answering this, but it's your desires might be wrong. The thing that you're actually chasing could be wrong. I like what C.S. Lewis says. He says, if you find yourself, if you find something in this world, or if you find something in this world that nothing can satisfy, you were meant for another world. And it's the idea that there's just really nothing in this world outside of God that's really going to bring you pleasure. Now, God gives you these gifts in the world to want and understand, but really those desires, if it's not caught up in God, it's going to fall apart. It's Matthew, right? It's rust is going to destroy it. The moths are going to eat it. It's nothing it's temporary. It's funny, the things that we talk about that's important to us that we're thankful for isn't more money, it's that time we're going to spend with our family and our friends and those notes and those cards. And
When you do funerals, you realize what's important in life.
Yeah.
When the family comes up and speaks, I don't know how many funerals I have done lately that I leave going, man, I'm humbled out and also inspired like never before to hear what some of these people are saying about their
Right.
loved ones. So we can be thankful for God's word,
Yep.
thankful for our friends,
Yep.
thankful for our kids, thankful for our church.
I'm also
I hope
very
this
thankful
motivates.
for Costco pumpkin pie. Just throwing that out there. Okay. Pretty thankful for that.
You know what? I bought it pumpkin pie and brought it home 2 days ago.
Oh gosh.
3. Your mother had not been feeling real well, and
So it's not there anymore.
I talked
it's
my
not there anymore.
No, I want to tell you what happened. I felt bad for her because your mother, she like weighs 92 pounds. She had been not feeling well, and I thought, I'm going to sacrifice and get this pumpkin pie for her. She needs to get some calories in her. And brought it home. Who do you think ate the first 2 pieces?
Oh, I knew we were going.
I
there.
did. But I had the willpower to throw half of it away
No.
because I said, I cannot finish this. But what I do every Thanksgiving, I have a 24-hour period because I'm a health nut. I really watch my health. For 24 hours, I eat anything and everything I want. 24 hours. And I mean, I'm sitting there watching the clock. When that 24 hours starts, I go, praise God. I will probably eat a pumpkin pie and a half just myself.
It's good.
With whipped cream on it. But anyway,
good.
I hope we're motivating our audience, Josh, and maybe having some of them refocus going, hey, there's some pretty cool ideas here. I think I'll start a tradition. If you start a tradition because of this broadcast, please let us know. I would love to know.
I think, yeah, if you can develop a more thankful mindset this holiday season,
Yes.
you will have made many wins. And a lot of those wins will go on throughout your entire life, and it'll help you be actually physically healthier. I really believe this.
Oh, definitely.
And so just go out there, be healthy
Yes.
in your mind, be thankful, you know?
Thanksgiving. Let's put more of the emphasis on the thanks
Yep.
than we
Look-
do the giving.
look around at what
Or
you
let them go
have.
together. They're both important.
Look around at what you have,
Yeah.
right?
Well, Thanksgiving, let me rephrase that. Put more emphasis on the thanks more than receiving. Giving, yes, they go together, thanks and giving. But we want to give too. So
All right, guys. We hope you guys have a good holiday, and we will see you next week.
love you and drive safe.
You got your daddy's ring.